Good day, YouTubers. Happy Labor Day. Reloading Bench back with you once again on this beautiful Monday, which is like 100+ degrees out. So we will be inside today. And I thought I've got a backlog of video ideas that I want to do. So I will do those. And this is one of them. So if you recall, I had a rather dismal experience with trying to rig up something for my WFT for 223. And I had somebody point out, which, I thought addressing it in the video by putting, a comment in the video, but people don't watch the entire videos. They see a segment and they make assumptions. So somebody was like, hey, dude, you should probably resize your brass before you try and trim it, because he noted that I was having difficulty in my examples pulling, as I'm doing now, pulling that brass out. And I said, this is not resized brass. I was using an example because I was, you can't see it off to the side, emphasizing my Franken Trimmer, chamfer and deburr prep center, whatever it's called, and then trying to, make this into a two-step process, handling the brass in terms of two-step. But again, I just happen to have on the bench brass that wasn't deprimed or resized. So just to show the MFers who don't pay attention, resized, deprimed. Oh, look how easy that goes in. Look how easy it comes out. It's kind of like the reloading, the bullet Nazis. Like, is that gun unloaded? Just relax, mother fudgers. See? Nothing wrong. Unsized. Not cooperating. Because it hasn't been sized. Alright, now that that's out of the way, on to the real reason for this particular video, which still has to do with my WFT. And something that's like, I've had this for probably 10 years. And, up until today, I never got it to work right for two reasons. One, I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't really thinking things through. And two, it was when I had my drill model, so it was, kind of vertical-ish, and it just wasn't cooperating. So I'm like, F this. But somebody has suggested, when I had the WFT horizontal, why don't you put a drill vise into the, component, the right angle? And I'm like, wow, I hadn't even thought of that. What a dumbass. Great idea. I'm a dumbass. But that got me to thinking, because earlier this morning, as I was having my coffee, I was thinking and contemplating potentially, again, the whole press vertical versus horizontal, front facing versus whatever, creative ways of doing brass trimming. Again, brass prep for bottleneck, my least favorite activity. Reloading, love it. Brass prep, not so much. So I had this for years. This was like when I first started out with Lee gear, and I was doing the little ball cutter. And again, never got this to work right because I wasn't paying attention and just threw it in a box and forgot about it. Well, this morning, watching some Hornady Case Prep Center videos, which is essentially the same as the Frankfurt Case Prep with a trimmer. But the Hornady, and somebody said, why don't you just get a Henderson? And I'm like, yeah, why don't I just part with $1,000? Because it's ridiculously expensive and as much dedicated setup and what it takes on the bench got me to thinking, well, what other alternatives out there? And then there's the WFT2, there's the Trimit, there's the Giro, if that's even how you pronounce it, the three-way, there's an RCBS three-way. All of those take a lot of finagling and whatnot, and they're not inexpensive. I think the Trimit 2 with 2 calibers, like 308, 223, that's $200 plus tax plus shipping. The Giro is cheaper, but in the same, upwards of $150, $200. The Hornady Case Prep Center, which does trimming, chamfer, deburr, case prep, I think is about low 500s right now, depending on where you buy it, upwards of 600, again, depending on where you buy it. Used to be in the 400s, but that was many, many years ago before all the craziness. So I got to thinking, could I make a ghetto version of the Hornady? Because one of the things that somebody complained about with the Hornady was the cam lock. So you have to lock your brass in via the cam lock, and then you lower your brass via essentially like a drill press. So the cutting head, this cutting head equivalent is you lower it into the cutting head, and then you raise it, and then you unlock your brass and you toss it aside. So I got to thinking, you know, I've got the drill press, so, you know, having this WFT locked into the drill, chucked into the drill, that's not going to move. So, you know, and having it, you know, I don't have to have it precise like the Hornady, because I'm lowering the cutter to the brass. I'm not lowering the brass to the cutter. So I was thinking, why not rig something up? So I started playing with this, and I finally figured out what the F I was doing wrong. This internal chuck piece that you chuck into the drill, for lack of a better term, and then the jaws, I never was able to do this because I wasn't doing it correctly. I always had the head here either too high or too low, so the chuck, when it the clamps, the three jaws, never really locked the brass. So I was like, F this. So again, assuming that this was vertically correct. So now you can see that this is locked in, and this obviously would be clamped down to my drill press. And then I would take a piece of brass, lock it in, and the drill press would come down, trim, and I'd be done. But the magic was in the setting, because this is locked in, but it's rotating the whole head, which means this is either lowering or raising to catch your rim of your brass. So once I got it caught correctly, and whoops, so trying to do this in video, two different things. So once I was able to catch the rim and then twist and lock, that brass isn't turning, that brass isn't doing anything. It's locked in there. Never able to do that when I did it vertically. So then the idea would be, with the drill press obviously set to a particular height, I would just come down, let that do its magic, lift, and then pop out. Naturally, that's going to go to be unreachable. So the time consumption in this solution is this process right here. The time spent chucking the brass, and it's not an identical process. Identical meaning half twist, half twist. It's unlock, rechuck. So this is where the time would be. And in all honesty, the knurling on here and the twisting, I could see that wearing, you know, you get tired doing 1,000 pieces, 500 pieces. That would suck. That would suck. But it's doable. I've got all the pieces, and it's not a money thing. But it's not cool either. Whereas I think the Hornady Case Prep, I like the idea of the cam lock because it's a lot easier than twisting. It's one lever, locks the brass in. It uses universal shell holders, which I have, so caliber issues aren't an issue. And it comes with 10, from the documentation, pilot heads. So most popular case sizing. The problem with all these other tools, very unique cutters, is they're caliber specific. Whether it's, you know, an interchangeable collet or other, you still have some adjustment. Just like the Frankfurt Arsenal tools I have, that is a trimmer for the drill. And maybe I could put that in the, again, the issue is how to chuck the brass so it's not moving, which is the time consumption. So I'm not a big fan. I just spent $100 on the Frankfurt Arsenal Prep Center. So if I were to pick up the Hornady, it does everything the Frankfurt Arsenal does, plus cutting in a in a universal way in terms of the number of pilots that come with it. So you're not limited by calibers, and you wouldn't be spending any more money on additional calibers. But it's a BMF. It takes up a lot of bench space. It's probably the equivalent of, footprint size this wide and, 10, 12 inches high, which is, reminiscent of, I would say the footprint is probably around this, but maybe 3 times higher than this is. Do I need another big giant device to chamfer and deburr? If I got the Hornady, then the Frankfurt Arsenal goes in a box, not to be seen again forever. So who knows? Not sure what to do. But again, Lee product works if you're just not a dumbass and know how to use it. And I've been a dumbass for 10 plus years in how to lock that brass into the 3-jaw clamp. So kind of cool. Again, very elegant, low-end solution that works if you make it work. So again, WFT has been a go-to for me for probably at least 10 years. This is the original WFT. No complaints. And I want to say I think I've changed the cutter head out once. But again, I don't do huge volumes. So that is it for my ghetto idea for potentially leveraging the press to do some trimming, and we'll see where that goes. Don't know. On to the next video.